we're going to get started already. Yeah. Cool. Let's get started. Magic. Oh no,
That's fine.
We want you to be in the shot. We're gonna get you.
Oh, no,
Okay.
So the green light's got to be on.
Okay, and it's on.
It's on.
All right, so welcome to our happiness class. Do join in. We do this every week. We've been away for a while. We're going to be asking two questions. Is humanity a virus? Does inflation kill? When I say happiness class, we talk about lots of practical issues. Yeah, I know. It's getting people's attention already. So the idea is that we're not here just to win debates. In fact, we're coming from different perspectives, which is where I'm a Muslim, Dust here is agnostic, and we're trying to learn from each other and not just give points of view, but scientific and logical points of view. But where Islam helps me is it gives me an insight to put the facts together. But it's not here's my beliefs and that's the end of the story. Okay, and it's not just for, as I say, for the sake of winning a silly debate. Who cares if who this? But it's how can we make the world a better place by having a better perspective. So I'm going to get started on the first question. How is humanity a virus? Okay, and you'll find that generally, if you ask a Muslim that, they're very relaxed about it. Why are Muslims relaxed about the state of the environment? Even though they do believe it's very much part of Islam to take care of the environment. In fact, Islam is probably the most green religion. It's the only religion that says don't cut down trees in wars, take care of birds, be nice to all animals, plant trees, even if it's Islam. I'll tell you some. Let me ask you a question. Did you know that Islam teaches that even if you're on your last breath and you have a seed in your hand, you should plant that tree? Did you know that? That's amazing, right? Hundreds of dogs. I mean, that's very strange because you know what? Okay, let me ask you another question before I think we're getting a little bit distracted. I won't. Okay, I'm very, very distracted. So the idea, I will leave it to that Islam is a very green religion based on the teachings, not what some strange people might be doing, right? Okay, but yeah.
That before Islam.
That's good because
When you lay siege to a town, right, do not cut the trees down that bear fruit that you can eat from. Cut the trees that don't bear fruit to build siege works.
Thank you very much because Muslims have to believe in Judaism. That's great. Great. There's no competition where it's from the same God. Anyway, so is humanity a virus? I'm going to roughly quote a teaching of Islam to just give a picture of what my answer is going to be. So it says, and he, that is God, has created horses and mules and asses, so different modes of transport that you may ride them and you might use them as a source of beauty. And he also will create something you do not yet know, which is very strange. That God is describing in the Quran all these different things that are useful to humanity. Okay, and they're not there by accident. And then at the end of it, it says, and he'll create things that you do not quite know. No, we were talking about a verse of the Quran yesterday, and you found it kind of strange in meaning. So I'm just wondering, before I go into it, any sort of idea what it might mean. So there's all these different modes of transport, but then God will create something that you do not know that could be helpful to you. What could that possibly mean to you as a guest? You might have no idea. I'm just wondering.
It's not an area. I don't have an answer for that. It's
That's fine. I was just wondering because we were talking about it yesterday, like a verse of not this, but a verse of the Quran. Yesterday we were talking about a verse of the Quran says, "Which one of the favors of your Lord will you deny?" Right, and you were saying, like, what does that mean? For me, it was obvious only because it's something that I've been exposed to for so many years. It's like, all right, okay, so I get that. It makes sense to me. But so the brief answer is that God will create technology to help us. God will create. So we don't think technology to be something separate from God. Technology is revealed. And well, how do you know that? Well, if you talk to any creative person, they will tell you we got these ideas from we don't know where. The eureka element of things, right? And they happen in conjunction with all sorts of things, like how was a combustion engine invented when, and it came in line with the finding of oil. So we've known oil for a long time, but actually getting it from rocks and things, rather than it spewing out over, you know, that's kind of that's a new thing. But anyway, that the rough pic, I want to kind of draw the general picture. The general picture, and the reason why Muslims are very kind of relaxed about the environment, even though they very much believe the environment is our duty to take care of, is that we don't we've only got a limited amount of control on the environment. So God creates all sorts of things for us, animals and the environment, and it's behaving very precisely like the earth, a perfect distance from the sun, etc., etc., right? Okay.
I think it'd be quite important for me to step in at this juncture, and the sun and moon and Earth. I have to think about that one. What planet we're on? It's still early. It's everything is fluid in that model. Everything is changing constantly. Like the moon at the moment is gradually, sadly, slipping away from the planet Earth. So one day it will eventually, many days, that is, as in billions, totally disappear from our orbit according to the current trajectory of it. And animals, the microphone it will pick us up around. It picks
It's
us up
not
quite
too
nicely,
close.
yeah.
All right, yeah.
And also animals and reality. I'll get onto technology in a second.
Sure.
Animals have, from science point of view, have evolved, and they've evolved due to the simple fact that they fit into their environment perfectly. But then there's a mutation or other interaction with the DNA, which will then change ever so slightly or dramatically a organism in that particular moment, which they can exploit that environment to a more efficient degree. And that is the process of evolution. There is no need, from my point of view, of a creator, because it's pure random, because those perfect entities that have arisen evolutionary wise can all be wiped out by an asteroid or other incident of a global nature. And technology is definitely something which is made and produced in the West dominantly to murder people and to inflict as much pain and suffering as possible. That's where Oxbridge comes in. It pursues an
So I'm talking about general technology that helps for transport, because that was the context I was talking about, that helps humanity. Of course, there are bits of technology that can also destroy humanity, but there's so much good in that as well.
Technology is wonderful, but the point we've got to realize is scientists are paid to be good human beings, which is sad and should be the case.
Sure.
But they're paid to produce weapons or justify oil and plastics and the markets which then oil companies exploit. So science isn't an independent agency. It is dominated and controlled and dictated to.
Sure. So I'm going to try to remember some of the points you made. So you said, for example, the moon is slowly going off its orbit and it's going to disappear. That's fine, because even in Islam it says the whole universe is going to be wrapped up again. Okay, so it's all going to be destroyed. There's no problem with that, and we're not going to be here forever according to Islam anyway. So it doesn't really, it's not a problem that we're not supposed to be here forever anyway. So it's not a problem if the moon eventually, after millions and millions of years, long after we're dead, goes away. It's no problem, right? And then you said, I can vaguely remember you said something about animals are just here by some sort of evolutionary mute. Yeah, so I believe in evolution, no problem. I don't believe, and there's no reason to believe, that mutations are accidental or, and the reason is that if you look at us, human beings, if you look at a fly, it's so immaculate, amazingly designed. When I say amazingly designed, incredibly complex, has a function, all these kind of things. Definitely, it's like an eye is more complex than the most complicated camera we have, right? So I can't say it's got no design, right? And then so where does the design come from? It has to have a designer. To think that the mutation, so when there's so much organization within an actual, and we're going to talk about this in more depth, right? The existence of God and why we should believe there's a God, but it's kind of central to what I'm going to talk about here anyway. So to think that when an animal or organism is so incredibly immaculately designed that the process in between one organism and its next variation, okay, should be accidental doesn't make sense. Why should it be? Why should the only bit that's accidental be the mutation from one variation to another? That's why I don't agree with. Does that kind of make sense logically?
I think that just makes it makes sense from your point of view. Just clarify
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But does it make logical sense that when there's when an organism is so well designed, why should there be an element of luck from one mutation to the next?
That I think it comes down to, again, to understanding how much time has transpired since the Earth was officially the object.
No, but that's a separate question.
Let
Like,
me finish.
yeah,
So the amount of time, which is what, 4.6 billion years, understanding the length of time which has taken from point A, which is just a molten ball of rock, which with the moon that just newly formed around it, to where we are today is so vast that it's almost incomprehensible. That time is, it has been an immense amount of time, and not to understand that is understandable because I mean, everything feels so immediate, but in actual fact, a fly to become a fly took billions of years for eventually for that to make sense, and it came sense due to many environmental issues and events that took place. Billions of years is an awful
Sure.
long time.
right. So even according to science, the idea that sure we got lots and lots of time, but what are the laws of thermodynamics? The one that says that everything goes from organized to disorganized. Entropy, right? So entropy tells. Thank you very much. So entropy basically tells you the opposite of what you're saying, which is that things don't organize themselves over time, and that's our common experience. We don't see houses being made over time by accident. It takes intelligence to create those things. That's just a common experience. So it's a massive leap of faith to believe otherwise. But we'll go into that. I want to let me see if I can.
How we get into the question?
Yes, exactly. So now I'm going to try to wind up as fast as I can, really quickly. Okay. So the idea is, okay. So logically it makes sense to say that God is in charge and there are no accidents and all the things that are here to help us. Okay, because I think from our little discussion it doesn't make sense to believe otherwise, right? Okay. And then so that means and now everything is behaving to a certain limitation. We get some freedom to move around. So we've got the Earth moving at a perfect distance from the sun, and we've got, just because we can't see the cranks and the machinery, we're constantly being taken care of by the water cycle and millions of things. So it's like the more science you look into, the more you're amazed how well we're taken care of. So that gives you an awareness that we're being taken care of. There is a God, and God gives you some room for maneuver to mess things up. Okay, even in the Quran it says that when the angels said, like, were told that human beings are going to have free will, going to be put on the earth, they said, do you want to put a creature that will cause havoc and bloodshed? Okay, and then God said, yes, there's that possibility, but there's also the possibility when they behave they can create beauty, right? Okay, so my short answer, if I was trying to keep it really short, okay, because we've kind of gone into different diversion, which is fine, okay, is humanity can be a virus when it misbehaves. It can be destructive, and it can be incredibly beautiful when it behaves, okay? And when does it not behave? Let me give you an example. When you want stuff, you just want stuff at any cost. That's consumerism, right? And there's reasons for that consumerism. When you stop caring about your parents, you stop caring about your family, and you're really lonely, and you just got Netflix and all these kind of things. You start depending instead of on people and more fulfilling experiences, you start consuming more and more, and that never fulfills you, and you destroy the planet. And so God just wants you, in all the different religions, they just want you to be good human beings. That's more fulfilling, and then you less become less like a virus. That's one short answer. And then this happiness show has a whole kind of a course structure, right? And talking about different elements of our happiness. And so if you go to bigquestionsanswer.com, you'll see that course. And today's one was supposed to be about technology. So my point about technology is that how much technology can help us and how much we don't realize how much it can help us. So right now, very short answer, if I was to try to boil it down, is that right now, most of humanity, do you want to guess what percentage of the land mass humanity lives on?
Sorry,
What percentage of the world does humanity live on? Most of humanity.
most of the humanity mean.
Give me a percentage. 10%, 50%.
I don't understand where
Okay.
your question-
Okay. Does humanity?
That's humanity.
Okay. Did you know?
The humanity is not God. This is one.
Shall I ask him if he thinks humanity is a virus?
Okay. Let me just ask you one. Let me tell you. Were you surprised that? I'll get to that in a second, right? Did you know that most of humanity lives on 0.5% of the world? Did you know that? Because most of us, look at London, 9 million people, and the rest of the UK were really sparsely spread out, right? That's true for most of the world, right? Okay, so simple answer is
Humanity is called our life.
sure.
You understand? Humanity is called our life.
Gold.
Goal, yeah.
I don't understand gold.
Goal is the our target.
Oh, goal. Okay, goal. Humanity. Do you understand?
Humanity is
Humanity is goal of our life.
goal to become human is to extend to
No,
excel to
because
humanity.
human, because the humanity is mean our action, our relation, our communication, our sharing. Anything depend to you get the high to high because what is your target the life?
Okay, I think we might be too much.
The life is you got the car, you got the house, you got the community, you got access to what?
Sure. Okay. I think we're talking about slightly different things, like being a good human being, and is humanity a virus? So, okay. So maybe there is some overlap with what we're talking about. Maybe we'll get back to being a good human being is
Let's
important.
just establish your baseline. Do you think humanity is a virus?
No,
Why not?
because the humanity is not gonna infect your life. The humanity is gonna give you more happiness in your spiritual. So when it's something gonna well done for your action, so you satisfied. So it's good for you to find the happiness. Otherwise, it's not gonna be virus because if you're doing something wrong, you're gonna do something is damage to you, and you hate that action. So it's not gonna call in humanity. The
Ah,
humanity is since I help to be to be used.
very interesting. So let me try to say, I think we're agreeing on something. It's like when you're a proper human being, then you're not a virus, you're not destructive. And when you're a good human being, you make the world a better place. Is that what you're saying?
It's not about the judge about you how you doing. It's something inside internal yourself to understanding.
Okay, so what
It's
I'm
not
gonna
something to judge about the it's mean if you passing and giving some food for people, it's
Yeah.
not gonna do gloria for yourself.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
you get you feeling to access to a step
Sure.
to something.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish. Sure.
It's not
I-
the judge.
So I'm going to try to finish off the point. I'm going to try to finish off the point and maybe get some interaction as well. Okay, so
We asked this gentleman as well. We should finish with him.
sure. So I'm just going to try to wrap up the rough point, which is we live on, most of us live on 0.5% of the planet. There's a lot of space left. There's a reason why we don't live on the rest of the planet, because it's been desertified by really poor use of the land. Okay, we've actually made more desert. And now, since this happiness course or this class particularly is focusing on technology, is that there are loads of new technologies so that we can even get water in the Sahara Desert if we wanted to through the air. There's technologies for that. And why is that so important? Well, besides using the rest of the landmass, okay, is where we can begin to live like locavores, which means we live locally like we did in the 1950s, where you have a pet cow and you have your own food and it recycles, and it's very easy to be close to net zero in terms of carbon footprint. So that's the rough idea. Any thoughts? Oh, okay. So what's your, is humanity a virus?
It's known to be, but I don't think it is.
Why not?
Because as you said, we've got potential there. We've got innovators in humanity, and it doesn't just end with people that are writing philosophy. We actually can go further than that with technology, and be a bit more inclusive with everyone in terms of sharing that wealth, because there's enough to go around. The planet is abundant.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing that I think we agree on that, because we talked about this idea of abundance and there's no need for starvation and all this kind of stuff. It's amazing that when you get off mainstream media, there's so much agreement.
Yeah, I think it's very. The world is a beautiful thing. Humanity is a beautiful thing on that world, and as we've all just disagreed upon, I believe that if we act in a way which is conducive to understanding each other and the reality that we all share, then nothing but brilliant beauty, technology, love, and understanding, happiness will always shine on through.
Yeah, definitely.
For example, if you see in the British bureaucracy, doesn't grow in the humanity. It doesn't mean because I'm living in Britain, I can't for myself doing humanity. I mean the knowledge we got it. Yeah, we can't have any knowledge. Or have to pay, or have to use, or have to find by the access.
Sure, I'm not really sure if I totally understand what you're saying, but let me just come up with
If
a
you go inside the
yeah.
a small community.
Yeah.
The community
So I want to
you
come to the
growing
next point.
as mean for
Okay,
them,
so the next point I want to,
humanity
if
growing.
you could just,
For example, you
I'll
go-
ask you a
sorry.
separate question in a second. Another point, so the point is really not just to have theoretical ideas, but like how can we move forward? Because that's what a happiness class is like. How can we make people happier, right? And my answer is that if we live within God's teachings. Now, people might not like that idea because people aren't aware generally of what I believe are God's teachings. So I'm a Muslim, and being a Muslim is very inclusive because we have to believe in all the different religions, right? And one of those teachings that are common in what are known as the Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, although not entirely practiced by all those religions, is the avoidance of interest in the economic system. Why? What has that got to do with the environment? Because in an interest-based system, you borrow money and you have to give back more money, which means you have to create more and more wealth. Which is
We
why,
need money.
well, that's a
If you're,
different.
if you're arguing for abundance for everywhere,
Sure.
why does money even have to come into it?
Sure.
Because that's just another. You're bringing in you're bringing in a commodity that actually has no meaning. That unless we put meaning to it.
Sure. So I just see money is not bad, good or bad by itself because
Yeah.
it's just a mechanism.
Yeah.
Okay. All I'm saying is that an interest-based economy.
What about a resource-based economy?
Give me one second. So it's very interesting. No, it's very good and very relevant as well to the discussion. But let me just quickly finish the point. An interest-based economy, okay, necessarily requires the economies to grow. That's why they always talk about in economics. They say the GDP is growing or not. If it's not growing, you're in trouble. Which means, but how can GDP keep growing? If the economy is based on what we have in the land. Do you know what I mean? So it means you have to continuously create more wealth than there was before, which means you have to keep mining the world endlessly until it's empty.
But actually, we don't actually need to do that anymore because, as you said, we've got technologies available to us now where we can actually go and mine asteroids. You know, like there's that technology available to us. We're just not using it. So
Sure.
it's just we're limited. There was a study done. They've done a study on fleas.
Yeah.
They put fleas in a pantry dish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they sealed it, and the fleas could only jump that high. And you know, fleas, they can jump very, very high and very, very far. But the fleas, after one generation, they took the lid off, and the fleas was only jumping to the level of the lid was.
Yeah.
So that's us
Learned
right now.
behaviours.
Yeah, that's us right now. We're only limited by the ceiling that we've been put with. So
I'll tell you what, I'm going to talk about something I didn't expect to talk about, which is really strange about Islam. Okay, did you know right in the beginning of the teacher of the Quran? You've heard about the Quran?
yeah,
It says, "All praise belongs to God, who's Lord of all the worlds," plural. So right from the beginning, we, as far as my understanding of Islam, is that we were supposed to be a multi-planetary species. So we're thinking way ahead. So we don't have to worry about filling up the Earth because we might move on to more and more planets.
well, no. I'm not saying about moving on to other planets because this planet is beautiful enough. I'm just saying we don't need to rinse our resources on this one when there's resources up there.
Sure,
You
we
know?
could have that as well. It's not; they're not mutually exclusive. We could be
I don't agree with
multi-planetary.
billionaires trying to colonize Mars because this planet is lovely enough. It's rich enough in its resources.
And to add to that, it's the billionaires that are killing the planet in the first place. And all they're trying to do is escape their horrific crime by moving off to another planet, which is obviously a good thing to do if it was done in the name of humanity. If it's done in the name of a billionaire, that's the only reason why they want to move off. That's Elon Musk, who I love to bits, by the way.
Yeah.
But he wants to escape because he knows of the horror that billionaires are creating. Yes, he is a billionaire.
Well, I
but
mean, he's talking about asteroids attacking, hitting Earth.
yeah, asteroids attacking Earth, not an issue. What is an issue is the fact that global warming is happening, war happens, people experience that every day today, not at an unfixed period in time. So we need to stop. Humanity is only a virus because billionaires have instructed our leaders to make it a virus. If they did not exist as in the money didn't exist, therefore humanity would be just this humanity. But this bit is a product of what billionaires want from this reality. Yeah, Elon Musk is accepting to the rule because he actually is trying to save the planet, but at the same time he's also thinking, well, I need to get off this planet.
I think it's, to be fair on him, as a kind of fan of his, I don't think he's perfect. Yeah, I think he's just
You make civilization.
yeah. Let me just, and I think there's one kind of obvious point that's relevant to this is that a lot of people think we're in the world is becoming overpopulated and it's going out of control. But a lot of people don't know that, especially European and Western countries and Japan and a lot of modern countries, people are not having enough children. Were you aware of that? The population.
Yeah, but that's because, like, within poor societies, they have a population spurt, and within rich societies, they have a population drop. So that's just the way it is, you know.
That's interesting. I think, but they also relate it to urbanization. So when you have tiny bit of land to live on, a bit like the flea example, where the fleas just jump as high as they can within the space they have. So when you have less land, hardly any space for your kids to run or anything to basically live, and you hardly got any food, like we say we're modern rich countries, but people are living very poorly here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that reduces statistically, that reduces the number of children we have.
I still wouldn't say that because within the poor areas that I grew up, there were still babies being knocked out left, right, and centre. So, you know.
Interesting.
Can I just add to this as well? Catholic Church has decreed the use of contraception and sex education to be basically utterly banned, and they therefore create to the world overpopulation and continue this world pressure to push humanity to become a virus. So the Catholic Church is hell bent on creating this overpopulation because in that realm of reality, everything will descend into chaos because this planet cannot support the overpopulation that we have on it at the moment. And in the West, the only reason why the West is got a slight reduction in the overall thing, which is only slightly and immeasurable next to the actual overpopulation is because people have rationalized that this world is horrible. But what they haven't reasoned is the Catholic Church is solely responsible for the reality that they experience. It's rational not to want to have children when your child is forced to go to war or die of hunger. That is reason. That is reason to that. Is it right? No, because no child should live in poverty or have to be forced to go to war by some rich kids who want to pin a medal on their chest. Humanity is made of virus to give an excuse for the horrific actions which happen all around us. It's done by design. Which the next question is related to the first question on that note.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, might as well do a little. I'm not sure how much time we've used, but it feels like half an hour already.
I'll check.
But just, I think some ideas to wrap it up and some ideas for hope. Like, we've done all sorts of damage to the planet in the past, right? But it's not irreversible. Like, for example, we probably, according to the archaeologists, probably killed off the woolly mammoths, right? Okay. Yeah, we did a lot of damage, and somehow,
Not we.
yeah, but somehow we're still here, right? Okay, we still made it. And my experience of living in a village in the Middle East, where we kind of live off the land, we've got a bit more land and things like that, and they're very different kinds of food, is that when you're living as a locavore, which means you live locally, okay, you recycle much more easily, you reduce the need for transporting food across the world. Like, for example, where I was in the Middle East, we eat furry cucumbers, right? Okay, now, why is that so important? Because you only see normal, massive, long cucumbers, and they're not furry and all this kind of stuff. The difference is that if you eat locally, first you reduce the need for transporting, which obviously causes huge pollution. But also, there's this problem with monoculture, where you create.
We've only got 60 harvests left.
Yeah, so you have like miles and miles of the same kind of product, and the bees go mental. They hate having to have one kind of food or fruit all the time. So basically, being a locavore, living locally, which you can do, because right now we're living on 0.5% of the world, because we live in big cities right now, right? Okay, when we move to the deserts, these undo the damage we've done and create the green within the deserts, which we know about how to do that. And we've got the technology for that as well, creating water from air. We've got the technology for that. That's, I think, hope for a better future. Do you want to say a few words for hope for a better future to round it up? We always try to say positive stuff at the end.
Cities are wonderful. Cities are at the moment designed to be destructive, pollutant, and to repress humanity and the need and desire for human growth. But cities can be redesigned to be, you can have towers of farms, you can have towers of gardens, you can have towers of wind powers, rooftops are solar powered. All these things could easily be manufactured into reality. The reason why your cities are green, farms of massive towers and community